right, we're live.
And he just made me watch Roadhouse. And I loved every single second of it.
It is a great movie. There's a lot of corniness and cheesiness with it, but it's a fun watch every single time.
But it's like, it's one of those movies that you chalk it up to it just being older. That's why it's cheesy and corny. But even then, it's like, I saw this movie when I was a kid, and this was my first watch of it as an adult. And I just loved it so much more.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I think what the biggest part of it that makes it so good still and why it's a classic, I think, is because it does a great job showing the contrast all the time. So, for examples, in the beginning, the bar that Dalton gets recruited at, it's clean cut, fun, happy, it's lit nicely. It's a good bar because he's been there and has established it as a place of order. And then when you go cut back to the Double Deuce, the bar he gets recruited to fix it up, it's obviously a mess. So there's that contrast there. There's a contrast between Dalton and the bad guy, with Wesley, right?
Brad.
Yeah. There's a contrast there because the way that Brad Wesley leads his men is by brute force, beats him up, doesn't have control over his emotions really, and he kind of has this vengeance. Dalton, he's very calm and collected. He's like, he's like, his whole point is he's the cooler. He's keeping it cool the whole time. You know, so there's that contrast. Another contrast is with the ladies, with Wesley's girl that wants to date Dalton or wants to have sex with Dalton. And then the girl that Dalton actually likes, Doc, right? The contrast there is that the Wesley's girl is very promiscuous. It looks almost like it's her makeup and her attire is almost like it's try hard pretty.
Yeah, it's very like a pink lip, and she's wearing a lot of makeup, and we see Doc is almost never wearing makeup.
Yep, and she has, she always has like her tits shown. She has like low cut stuff. She's not afraid to dance.
The other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's specify that, because I do agree that Doc always like has herself covered up.
Yeah.
And she's more, a little bit, she doesn't have to flaunt herself in that way because she has her intelligence, her personality, and her natural beauty.
Yes.
So she's very effortless, kind of how Dalton is, very effortless. He doesn't have to parade around and like talk this big game all the time. What's important will show eventually.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. She has this natural beauty, and then the other one, she's pretty. Like she's a pretty actress, but the way they portray her is like a forced pretty. Like she tries to do herself up too much. Where Doc is naturally pretty. There's that contrast where it's like try hard pretty versus just being natural. Like not a lot of makeup. She's just a pretty person that's just using that. So there's that contrast. So it does a good job of contrasting ideas, which I think is what really you can give this movie credit for.
Well, another one is Dalton, being as deadly as he is, got a degree from NYU in philosophy.
Yeah.
It's very back and forth. And did you notice that when he told her what his degree was in and she asked what focus was it in, he's like, man finds his destiny. And then later on, when Brad Wesley invites him over, he's explaining how he believes in that philosophy that man should find his destiny, but they're not talking about the same type. Brad Wesley is more of a conquering destiny. And Dalton is more of a stumble upon type of thing. He said he fell into it, and that's how he found his destiny. He doesn't take it.
Right.
And Brad Wesley takes and takes and takes from everybody the entire time.
Yeah, Dalton's more going with the flow of life. You see that scene where he's doing the centering himself out.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Tai Chi.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny in that scene because you look at the old man when he's watching him. Like Dalton's so much in the moment that he doesn't even recognize that somebody's watching him. Maybe if he even did see him, he doesn't care enough to actually stop what he's doing because he's so focused on his self and him being calm and doing his motions. But the old man, in that scene, he like lifts up the cover of the car. He sees like a badass Mercedes, and then he sees Dalton doing like weird martial arts training out in the field. And he's like, Dalton shows up and he seems like a good old boy, just, country boy, just, going with the flow. And the old man trusts him. And now he's like, who the hell is this guy? Like, he has a badass car. he's living in a barn and he's doing martial arts practice. He's like, who the hell is this guy? Like, it seems like he's like kind of second guessing who this guy is. Like, because Dalton's not who you would think he would be.
Yeah, and he's very complex in a sense that he's so deadly and he has killed people before.
Yeah.
But it's almost like him as a person is just, it's kind of like one of those things when you back a dog into a corner, it's going to defend itself.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not always that way. He's actually very kind and, like you were saying, with his employees and stuff. And then towards the other people in the town, he makes friends with not only the owner of the bar, but Red, the owner of all these other small businesses in the town.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is jumping too far ahead, but at the ending, I noticed that when all of them come out of the woodwork and they start shooting, every single one of them have a shot towards this guy. And it reminded me of Julius Caesar.
Why?
Well, because Caesar dies by everyone turning on him and they all stab him. So it's like a group effort thing, and it's not just Dalton finishing the job on him.
Yeah.
It's the whole entire town.
Yeah.
Collectively, what was represented by these shop owners all had a stab at him.
Yeah, I like it because it's that triumphant ending where it's really not Dalton's fight. Dalton gets hired to fix a town for other people. And so at the end, it shows that, in the end, it's not really Dalton's fight. Like, he's really not being affected by what's happening to the town. It's all these other business owners that are getting affected by this one dude. So at the end, it's not Dalton getting the victory because we want Dalton to win, but if he were to be the one to finish the job, it's not as much of a big payoff because we haven't seen Dalton really get abused and betrayed and beat up by Wesley because we know Dalton can handle himself. We're watching Wesley bully all the other people and Dalton trying to stick up for him. So at the very end, you get to see the entire group of people that have been bullied by this one man get to chop him down.
Yeah, and it kind of shows them, it's almost them giving it back to him, all that he's helped them in the town. Because if he didn't stumble upon that town, Brad Wesley would have taken every single thing from everybody, but he kind of was the catalyst to turn the tide. And he kept on fighting and he kept on coming back. So I felt like those shop owners, that was kind of their way, or those business owners were that way of like showing that they had his back when he had theirs and he didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Because also if the cops would have showed up and it was just him, that's a one-way ticket,
Mm-hmm.
But when all of them are there and they've all been in the town forever too, that's a credible source to the sheriff. When he went up to them, like he's their friend, he's like, all right, anyone want to tell me what happened here? And they were all able to, kind of get him off their trail. But if he walked up and there's a huge, rich guy that's dead and it's only Dalton there that's not from the town, he's an outsider.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's immediately locked up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good ending. It's a good triumphant ending. It just kind of pays you exactly what you're looking for. And the movie's, it's not like an extremely well-made movie. There's a lot of stuff. It's not like a bad-made movie in all reality, but
I think it was really good for the time.
They don't set up a lot of the problems and stuff. It's all very basic, I think, the way they lead stuff on, and you just kind of it's not like a deeply integrated movie with, the way they lead things and foreshadow things and weave the story together. It's kind of just goes along very simply. But that's what you're looking for with this movie. That's what makes it so good. It's just kind of just a laid back, fun movie to watch that's not too deep. You know what I mean?
I would disagree in a sense that I do agree that it was very following its course. But I picked up a lot of things that were pretty good foreshadowing things. Like when he meets Red and he was like, oh, how long have you been here? Or, what made you stay? And he's like, I married a woman. And then that was foreshadowing because in the end, Dalton stayed because of a woman that ended up being Red's niece.
I don't think we know if he stays, though.
At the end, they're in the pond together. So, I mean,
sure,
to
maybe
me,
so, yeah.
And she was telling him, she was like, you don't have to go. You can stay. So to me, if he's in love with this woman and they were able to get the biggest reason why he was going to leave. He was going to leave because of Brad Wesley. He was like, it's not worth it. He was going to leave because of him. So if he's in love with this woman, I think we can assume that he did stay in the town.
Maybe, yeah.
I would be kind of disappointed if like that next shot was him like just leaving her and just getting out of there.
But they could have moved together somewhere better. That's what I mean. They could have stayed, but I'm saying there's not really any huge revelation that he's staying in that town. We don't know that for sure. I guess you could assume. I mean, you could choose to believe it.
Yeah, I would definitely assume that. I wouldn't assume that the last shot is them in the water, and we know where that place is because we were watching that location the entire time.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's easier to assume that they stayed in the town.
Sure.
And he created so many, friendships in the town as well. Especially that last shot where he rolls up to the auto dealership and he's standing with all of his friends from the bar. And then he made connections with the other business owners and her. I mean, I don't think she would want to leave because her uncle's there as well.
Yeah. And also looking at the beginning of the movie, I guess you're right. Because he doesn't actively recruit. He's not trying to find these jobs. He just gets hired. It's like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
He's not actively seeking these bars out because he was at a bar he got it settled.
Yeah.
His job was complete. He was just managing. That's why he was able to quit so quickly because he's like,
yeah,
that's covered here.
Yeah. No, he said you get to have the place back to the owner.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he had no reason to stay ever. But the reason to stay now is her. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it made me think about the beginning again. Another contrast from the two bars is that the guys that Dalton's trained, they're very professional. They jump on the case and they're like, hey, come on, let's leave. It's all very like calm and collected versus, again, the contrasted of the ringleader of the bar when it was the Double Deuce, when it was, real shitty. That guy had an anger problem. He was always trying to start a fight.
Yeah.
He was ready to throw down and he's throwing people at
literally
other people's tables.
Throwing people, yeah. Hulk Hogan throwing people above his head, spinning them around and throwing them at the band.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big one. Like the first thing that you see is this band and there's a cage around them.
Yeah.
If that doesn't tell you anything, I mean, yeah, dive bar, yeah, people are fighting, whatever. There's a cage around the band,
right? Which
shows that there has been pretty bad things happen up on that stage.
Yeah.
Like people throwing shit.
I mean, they're throwing bottles the whole time.
Yeah. And there's a blind dude up there. A really sweet blind dude.
Yep.
And I was like, if someone hurts him, I'm going to be pissed. Because like I said, there was a lot that I didn't remember from this movie. The main henchman is, one, in all of these like 80s movies, they all have the same type of look. I feel because like Patrick Swayze, he's like handsome and his features are a little softer. Like, yeah, he has the cut jaw, but still like he's very traditionally handsome. And what I was thinking was that main henchman looked kind of like oh my gosh, what's his name from Rocky IV?
The bad guy?
Yeah.
Ivan Drago?
Okay, yeah. So his features are very like cut and like harsh and he looks scary. And that's, I don't know why, that's just like, I was like, oh, he kind of like has the same type of face as that guy. So I feel like the casting for these types of movies is very like, they kind of follow that type of like script, I guess. And to also tell the audience, it's like, this guy is like the bad guy, which is who I'm assuming that Connor McGregor will be playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the new one?
Yeah. I'm really excited about
it's a whole different story, but he's definitely going to be that type.
That type of, you know what I mean.
Yeah. He might be a mixture of both, though. It's kind of, the trailer made it seem like he's the boss.
No,
also
because
the fighter. Because there's that, in the trailer when he comes in, he makes a scene, he like yells at the whole crowd and he like starts bashing tables with his not so great acting.
Do you remember when she says so-and-so wants to take the place from me and they're on a boat and there's an old rich guy on a boat?
Oh, okay. So I missed that one then.
Yeah,
okay.
He's calling the shots.
Yeah.
McGregor's definitely that henchman.
Yeah, I don't think they would let McGregor play the the main
No, he
villain.
would have way too many lines.
And it's just like, this is his first movie acting. He's probably not that great of an actor, if we're being honest. So
I don't know. I wouldn't count him out. Even though UFC is real, he's still like, he's a character.
And
that's why he's so popular.
And they wrote him as himself, it looks like. He doesn't, he acts the way he acts. He has the same tattoos.
Yeah, why would you change him?
He dresses the exact way he dresses now. So they kind of just casted Connor McGregor.
Yeah.
You know, they made it easy for him to play this character because it's just himself as a bad guy.
Yeah, as a bad guy, because to me, when he gets in that ring, he's the hero. I'm always going for Connor McGregor. Yeah. I don't care who he's fighting.
But, and then again, the contrast with those two guys between Dalton and the main fighter for Wesley is Swayze's always got nothing on. Dalton's never wearing anything. He has no jewelry ever, no earrings. He's just here to do the job. He dresses very basic and casual. The other guy's he's trying to show off his badassery by having this like stupid necklace with a giant shark tooth on it. He's got, an earring in. He's just kind of a little bit more flashy. Mm-hmm. So there's another contrast between the two characters of one guy is kind of too full of himself and, wants to show off how badass he is with his attire. And then Dalton's like, I just am badass.
Yeah.
I don't need you to know. You're going to find out if you have to.
Yeah. Yeah. Dalton never goes into a fight with a weapon. He always disarms somebody and maybe uses that weapon. Like there's a lot of knives, but he never goes into a fight. Whereas that guy, he had a pool stick, he had a knife. Some people have guns. Dalton's like this.
Yeah.
In his Tai Chi, he keeps it very close to the chest because all of his punches are very like precise and quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one scene that I had an issue with the way the story was. I felt like it didn't belong in the movie. And with the philosophy that was told in the beginning and the way we know how Dalton acts and how he's supposed to run the bar and the way he coaches his guys wasn't how the scene played out. Is the scene is the pool stick fight at the bar whenever Wesley came and he was going to run some damage and kind of confront everybody. The guy, what's that guy's name?
I don't know.
The henchman, like the main henchman.
His name. Scott, we need you.
I don't know what the henchman's name is, but anyways, we'll call him the henchman.
Yeah.
Whenever he gets up and he grabs a pool stick and he's like ready to fight the crowd, nothing's happened. And Dalton always talks about, you don't start a fight in the bar. You always take it outside unless you absolutely have to.
That was rule number 2.
And in that scene, they didn't have to do that. He started that fight for no reason. I'm like, come on, Dalton, you're the cooler. You're supposed to keep it cool. Like, this is out of your character, I felt. This isn't what you teach, preach, and have learned from Wade Garrett. It's like, keep it out of the bar.
Maybe that was on purpose because I thought that too. Whenever he gives him the nod to do it, I was like, what? You're not going to make him take it outside?
Yeah.
And it was like right there in the middle. But I think by that point in the movie, like he had just blown up Red's auto part shop. So I think we're supposed to like kind of acknowledge that as Dalton losing a little bit of control. Even though he's okay right here and he doesn't show his anger outwardly, maybe that was a way for him to like kind of start breaking down and the things that Brad Wesley is doing is getting to him. So I feel like that was kind of the first thing was whenever he blew up the auto parts store. That's when it started like going downhill.
Yeah.
And Dalton started losing.
Yeah. Because the scene makes sense in the movie. Like you need to have a fight between them. You need like a showdown fight to show the stakes of like, hey, this guy's an equal to Dalton and he's ready to fight. So that scene serves that purpose, but I think they should have wrote it differently because, again, let's keep Dalton's philosophy and the way he acts as a character true. So let's show Dalton there can be a fight, but let's sell it better to where we actually believe that Dalton would do that. Because in reality, I'm not real sure with Dalton being the professional and one of the best bouncers there is, I don't think he would let his emotions get to him maybe, or maybe show him, if he was losing his emotions in that scene, let's show it a little bit better. That was the only scene I had an issue with where I'm like, that doesn't really fit with what the story is and what Dalton's character is. It doesn't seem like it seemed like it was just a scene in there just to show a fight.
Yeah.
It didn't serve a good purpose besides that.
Yeah.
So that's one scene I had an issue with is I wish they would have stayed a little bit true to that. But that's really the main complaint with the movie in all reality. The rest of it's decent. not like amazing, but
Yeah, I really enjoy that movie. I'm really interested to see how the new one's going to like. I mean, because I'm assuming there's been a lot of time in between the two that it's going to be way different just because it's modernized.
yeah.
But I think this movie is very much centered around his character. So if Gyllenhaal is able to capture the essence of who Dalton is, that he's super dangerous, but he's very calm, cool, and collected, that's the biggest part of Roadhouse, in my opinion. Also, ripping out his throat. Big part of Roadhouse. That has to happen.
Yes. I'm looking up right now. I'm trying to find out if Jake Gyllenhaal plays Dalton. Nope.
If
he
his
does.
name is Dalton.
Yep, it is.
I mean, it has to be,
Yeah.
or it's not Roadhouse.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal's character's name is Elwood Dalton.
It's not a secret that I do not prefer Jake Gyllenhaal, so I will be very critical of his performance and fair. But
We got a big old Swiftie over here.
yeah, I don't prefer him. But even then, like, I don't think he's anything to write home about as an actor. You know, I think he's okay.
What?
I think he's okay.
That's biased.
I wouldn't put him. Okay, I'm trying to think of a role that I was like, wow, that was fantastic acting.
Let's pull up his filmography.
I think the first thing I ever saw him in was
Brokeback Mountain.
no, I've actually never seen that.
I haven't seen it either. Okay,
Yeah.
but let's just read off what he's done, and I'll tell you my thoughts on the movies.
Okay, but I will be honest.
Okay.
I will be honest.
You haven't seen Prisoners.
No.
That's a fucking amazing movie.
Okay.
Really good.
Yeah.
Southpaw. Boxing movie.
I want to see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler. You haven't seen that. That one's
Maybe I just haven't seen a lot of his movies.
The Covenant. He was good as hell in The
He
Covenant.
was really good in The Covenant. That movie was crazy.
I mean, he was good in Spider-Man.
Oh. Yeah, he played a really good asshole in that movie. It's almost like he was playing himself. That's
Zodiac.
so crazy. Oh, yeah.
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 There's a weird movie that I watched with Gray. No. Was it?
Was it Brokeback?
I don't remember if it was with Gray. Maybe it was, but we watched Enemy.
Okay.
That was a really weird movie by Denis Villeneuve. I think that's how you pronounce his name. That's who made Sicario, which is another episode another movie I want to watch with you.
Yeah, I like Sicario.
He also made Dune.
Oh, okay.
So Enemy's a really weird, like, artsy movie.
Yeah.
It's like at the end, you're like, what the fuck? It like doesn't make sense in reality. It's very much a metaphorical ending.
Yeah. There was a movie that I watched with Jake Gyllenhaal in it when I was in middle school, I think. It's the one, I mean, it's something about space. I think that was the first movie I ever saw him in.
I don't know.
Is it Hunt for Red October?
I don't know.
It's something about, like, he grows up in a mining town, but then he makes, like, not a satellite. He's, like, an aspiring scientist or something like that.
Is it Day After Tomorrow?
No. Oh, my gosh. Ugh, I don't like those types of movies. When we watched Leave the World Behind, I was like, I hate this movie. I hate it. It's too real.
I don't know. But, so, October Sky.
Yes. Sorry, not Hunt for Red October.
Gyllenhaal's a legit actor. Even though you don't like him because he, did whatever he did to Taylor Swift. He's still phenomenal. Can't deny. Can't deny talent.
Whatever.
There's a reason there's a reason why he gets these giant roles, because he's talented.
He's starting to look old. That's what I thought in the Roadhouse trailer. I don't know if it was that he's super cut, that he like really like cut weight for it, because he's muscular, but he's very lean.
Mm-hmm.
And so just, I felt like in his neck and in his face, he just looked really skinny and almost like wrinkly up here.
Mm.
You know? Another thing I was talking to my coworker about, because I was showing everybody the Roadhouse trailer in the break room, was that during Tough, Connor McGregor's neck, Connor McGregor's neck was so big, it was almost concerning. Like he was busting out of his suits. I was like, what is going on?
He broke his leg, so he's roided up.
I know,
probably.
and it's just it looked like he was really bloated.
Yeah.
But in the trailer, he looked like he slimmed down a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd be interested when they film that in terms of when he was training for this hopefully coming up fight, because it hasn't been confirmed. I'm kind of bummed about it. When he announced it, I was like,
confirmed.
Has Michael Chandler came back and said, yeah?
They don't. That's not how it works. It's the UFC decides.
Well, yeah, but I haven't seen Dana White come out and even announce it. I've only seen Connor McGregor's thing. If it's confirmed, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I've been waiting a long time for that fight.
I think he's on. Let's see. Let's do a quick UFC check-in break. I'm looking at it. UFC 298 is Volkanovski. 299 is O'Malley.
It's past 300 because it's going to be in June.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
when he said, yeah. He said
Okay.
it's past June. And then
Or maybe it's the UFC 300.
180. No, because UFC 300's in like April. I know. I'm ready. I
I'm
can't
ready.
wait. And he set the weight as, what was it, 185?
Yep, that's his like prime.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, back to
That's
Roadhouse.
pretty big.
Back to Roadhouse. Yeah, so as a dude movie, and you being a girl that doesn't usually like dude movies, you like this movie?
That's not true.
You usually don't like them.
No,
You
I
don't
don't
like John Wick. You don't like all these cool action movies that I like.
Okay. Keyword, action movies. I don't like movies that don't have that much of a story and there's not anything else going on other than just fighting. There was something going on here.
Sure.
Like there's a story, there's a love interest, there's so much to this one character. It's not that I don't like dude movies. I love dude movies. I grew up watching mafia movies and dude movies, whatever. I just don't like movies that only have fighting, like freaking John Wick.
The first one, though.
Can't stand it.
You would love the second one then. But
the
anyway.
fourth one was snooze fest. I was like, this is probably the most boring movie I've ever seen.
Well, they
in my
went back
life.
to their roots on that one to get the action because John Wick's been through hell in the past too. So we had to watch him fucking redeem himself, get some redemption on these motherfuckers.
He should just die already.
No.
He's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, falling down those stairs 5 times. If I'm sitting there for an hour and the same fight scene has been going on, you've lost me. Can't do it. Even like in this one, after like the fourth like big thing had happened, I was like, okay, come on now.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
wrap this up.
Going back to Roadhouse, there's a lot more nudity than I remembered in this movie.
Yeah.
There's titties all over the place.
Everywhere. It was kind of crazy.
I was halfway through it. I didn't remember a lot of it either. I watched it a few years ago, but still, you forget movies over the years. So watching it again, you get a good refresher. And I was kind of hoping that they didn't show the main girl nude.
Yeah.
Because that
I
would
thought
have
that too. Yeah.
kept that contrast consistent of like, you know, old girl with Wesley, she was a whore. She was,
Yeah.
you know, has no real self-respect for herself. She's getting on a table. She's getting on the concert stage.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I couldn't think of the word. She's getting on the stage and she's like stripping for the entire bar because
Yeah.
Wesley's like, hey, get up there.
Yeah.
And then Dalton's like, if you're going to have a pet, why don't you put her on a leash or something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
And she gets all pissy and it's like, well, you literally are
Yeah.
doing that for him. So
Dalton and Doc's sex scene was, oh my God, so bad.
yeah, it's
I was just like, oh, when is this going to be over? I mean, not that like I don't prefer them. I don't think it adds to the movie at all. I think you can kind of allude to it and know that they're having
right.
sex.
That's so much
But
better.
in this one, it was really awkward. I felt like their chemistry when they were like kissing and stuff wasn't there. Like it was
yeah, it's just weird.
just weird. I didn't like it. I think it didn't add to it at all. Like I was comparing it to the one in Dirty Dancing. And the one in Dirty Dancing is she's kind of like not the same type of character. I feel like she's more like innocent and stuff. And he's obviously like this more like experienced type guy, which I guess you can like kind of make that comparison with his character in this. But it was very like there's soft music playing and he like lays her down and you can allude to it, you know? But in this one, it's like it's up against the wall and whatever.
Yeah, they try to
And
make Dalton.
I'm sorry.
You keep going.
Doc did not deserve that treatment.
Yeah, because like Dalton's picking her up and he's trying to be the manly man. Just watching it, it feels awkward. And it's just so much better, I think, with sex scenes like that to not actually show it, but like you can show some shots of them like going to bed, like going into the bed, the sheets going over, you know what I mean? Undressing, like that's cool and all. And then like you can get the idea and let us think about what they did.
Yeah.
Don't show us it and then we're like, ooh, what? That was weird.
Yeah.
It's so much better when a sex scene is just kind of alluded to, like you said. That's what a lot of times sex scenes just get uncomfortable because you're like, this is so awkward. Like
it went on for way too long.
Patrick Swayze was kissing her weird too.
Yeah, they like could not lock mouths. They kept on even like not in the sex scene. She would kiss him like up here. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like now casting directors do a really good job in casting people that have good chemistry together, you know, and this was just not one of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm glad that they actually got like a pretty chick to play the love interest,
right?
Because sometimes in these 80s movies, they get these like chicks and I'm like Top Gun. That is a big one. I was like, nah, could you have gotten a prettier chick? No disrespect. I mean, at the end of the day, it should be about talent. But there are some talented, pretty chicks out there.
Yeah.
And Doc was pretty.
Right, because whenever when it's a movie and you want to see the main character get a girl, you want it to be like, damn. Like, you got that girl? Like, and you just know that's the girl. Like, you want her to be stunning.
But also, he's a very attractive man. So you...
Which one? Tom Cruise or Swayze?
Both.
I don't think Swayze's that...
I will say, I did say that. I was like, I don't think he's the most... Like, I don't know. Growing up, when I first saw it, that blonde bouncer, I thought that he was more attractive than Patrick Swayze. The blonde one at the beginning, he's one of just the bouncers.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Kind of has floppy, wavy hair.
He's like the first guy that gets in a fight and listens to Dalton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He was always for Dalton.
Right.
And more than Patrick Swayze. And I mean, I thought he was attractive in Dirty Dancing, but you want an attractive man to like have an attractive counterpart. And it's like, man, he's with that chick?
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding? Kind of like Top Gun.
Yeah.
I was like, out of all people.
Yep.
You know?
I like this movie because it's like a cowboy martial arts movie. There's so many martial arts scenes and cool fight scenes where they're doing these cool kicks, and it's very much like you're watching like a Bruce Lee movie or like a martial art movie, but it's country boys. You know, It's taking a small town. Everybody's got a little country accent. He lives in a barn. All these good old boys that run these businesses. It's like a cowboy martial art movie, which is a pretty cool like vibe.
Yeah.
You know?
It is. It's a vibe.
Yeah.
Speaking of cowboys, but there was the scene where he's fighting the main henchman and he kills him. He looked at the camera and I was like, oh shit, that's Theo Von. I was like, I always thought that Theo Von looked familiar to me, but I couldn't place it. But when he looked at the camera, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, when his hair's a little bit straighter, like Theo's is, not as wavy as Patrick Swayze's. He does have like a little bit of a Theo Von face.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I never noticed that until you mentioned it. I'm like, oh shit, he does look like Theo Von a little bit.
Yeah.
In that scene when he's fighting though, I think it's so funny that something that just kind of gets briefly mentioned in the beginning when they're talking about, I heard he grabbed somebody's neck and ripped it out in like one swoop. That was like in a conversation in passing. Like it's like a rumor, and it's just hilarious to see it, and it goes by so quickly, so normally. It's not that big of a buildup. He just reaches in and fucking snatches his throat out like that. You're like, what the fuck? Like first time watching it, I remember being like, what the hell? He just snatched his throat out of his own throat? Like what the fuck?
If you weren't paying attention to what the blonde guy, because he says that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you would have missed it. And then even then it kind of, if you blink and you don't watch him do it, the actual gash looks like he just slit its throat with like a knife. But I think Roadhouse is notorious for that being like the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And then at the end, he was gonna do that and he like hesitates. Because I think he's like kind of, well, I think two things. I think whenever he did it to the guy, he he wasn't the man that he wanted to be for her because she like reacted. She was like, oh my God, did you just kill that guy by ripping his throat out? Are you kidding me? So I think it was also a way to show that he is different now. That he doesn't, hey, I'm going to stop ripping throats out, man. Like this isn't me anymore.
Well, really, something that they didn't really develop that well is Dalton's battle with him killing somebody, because they talk about it briefly, but it's just mentioned. And it's a huge thing to Dalton's character and his mind. Like, you know that it's there because if you're putting yourself in the mind of Dalton, you can understand this is probably on his mind the way they talk about it, but it's not really developed. As you watch it, you don't feel anything about it, because they mention how Dalton, he killed a man. They talk about that in the beginning with Wesley tells him, like, I know you killed a guy and you say it was self-defense, but we know it wasn't.
In Memphis.
Yeah.
They bring up Memphis.
And so, you know, the backstory is they don't really dig into it deeply, but the backstory is that Dalton killed a guy who was married to a girl he was sleeping with that he didn't realize was married, and then the guy put a gun in his face and Dalton killed him. Probably snatched his fucking throat out.
Yeah.
I like to believe.
Yeah. That's what I gathered.
And then Dalton kills somebody again, and she sees it, and he's like, fuck, I keep losing myself in these situations where I'm, you know, can't control myself, where I kill somebody. Like, I'm a cooler. You're not supposed to, you know, take it outside, be the calm guy. But sometimes he loses himself and will kill somebody. That was something that, and at the end, you know, he stops himself. But that's something they could have built on a little better and developed more to where that's a bigger moment. Like, we know that's a moment for Dalton's character to choose to not kill him. But it doesn't really get developed that well to where you're like, you know, no, don't kill him, Dalton. Like, you know, be a good man. You're kind of like, fucking take his throat.
Yeah. I was like, do it.
Because they don't develop it enough to where you care for Dalton to not kill people.
Yeah. But I think there's only so much time in a movie that you can convey stuff like that. And I think when you make a movie like this that's so action based, but then you also want this character to have this backstory, I do kind of feel like that part was like half-assed. It's like, oh, we're going to mention this and you're supposed to kind of remember it.
Yeah.
Could they have cut a fight scene and maybe added to his story, or maybe made him and Wade's conversation a little longer, or gave us some more context with what happened in Memphis? Yeah, probably. You could have cut. But I think also for the time, what's going to bring people into the theaters? A badass action movie,
right,
or just like about a sad dude?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Especially with Swayze. Also gone too soon. I was trying to think of what he died from. I think it was cancer. This is like one of the times it's like, dang, I wish we had Scott here right now.
Yeah.
But I think he died of cancer.
Yeah. So that's another thing where they didn't really, that's why I'm saying it's not, in the beginning I was talking about it's not that well made, is because those things don't get developed, and there's stuff in the beginning. So something that I think they could have done better and developed better is like whenever he first gets hired by Tillman.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's something like that. Sorry, audience.
Yeah.
There's not much pushback really. It's just like agree. Mission starts. When usually you want there to be a little bit of friction, you know what I mean? When it goes by too easily, you're kind of like, well, let's get some conflict here in the beginning. Like, he just quits, no issue, or he gets hired, he gets everything he asked for, and he quits with pretty much ease. So it's like, let's give us some conflict in the beginning a little bit. Everything just kind of was very easy for Dalton in the beginning. So I think there should have been a little bit more conflict and not as, you know, free flow into the storyline. It just kind of happened too quick, I felt.
I disagree.
Really? Okay.
I think it's supposed to show that his character doesn't really care about anything other than a job, and just he's going to follow the money and wherever he's needed. He's like, hey, once I'm cleaned up, I'm out of there and I'm going to keep on going. That's part of his character. But she was the reason, because even when she said you can stay, he was like, no, I probably won't, because that's who he is. Mm-hmm. He's a drifter like that. Mm-hmm. He's a drifter with purpose, but he still, you know, goes different place. They kept on saying it, you know, different place, same story, because that's like who he is. That's what they do. Yeah,
I do give it a little bit of credit there, where I have that opinion, and then I also can see it on the better side of it, where you want him to be, he's like, fuck it, I'll do it, sure. where you see that he's just like, I'll take the job, whatever. As long as you meet my terms, I'll do it. So I guess I do give it credit there where maybe it's not as bad as I'm saying it is. Maybe, it does tell you who he is as a character. So,
and maybe he has to be kind of like cold and kind of like, just like that because he's kind of carrying, we don't know that at the time, but he's carrying this baggage from Memphis and he doesn't have any real roots like that are keeping him to a place.
Mhm.
And maybe he like has to have that. That's like just because he has all this, I would like to think for someone that has been hurt as much as he has physically and has taken lives and that's like what he does for a living, it's almost like you have to make that choice. You can't have all these things that are important to you because you're going to lose them anyways.
yeah.
And
Again, he's a philosophy major in college, right? So
Yeah.
he understands life a little bit deeper than most people. He comparing again to the henchman guy.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any flash. He doesn't care about stuff. He just needs a bed.
Mm-hmm.
He has a badass car, but like that's not like a focal point of his character. It's just kind of a cool thing that he was able to get and he likes it, but it's not like he's attached to it really.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he doesn't really care about the flash. He lives in a barn with no AC. He doesn't give a fuck, doesn't
Mhm.
care where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't wear anything fancy. He just wears his work attire or he wears like a plain t-shirt.
Yeah, tangible things are not important to him.
Right.
Even with the car, whenever it gets trashed, he's like, man, like he doesn't care. And then whenever he's telling her that he's a philosophy major, he's telling her. That's important. He's not just telling like the other chick that worked at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling her because as an audience, we're supposed to single her out as maybe foreshadowing the only thing that ends up being important to him, that he's like, man finds fate and she's his fate. Basically, if she's the thing that keeps him in the town, she is like his fate, the turning point. Whereas whenever the Wesley's talking about it, he has all these tangible things around him. Also, at the end, to make us hate him more, he's a huge poacher.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that guy. There was a giraffe in that room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a polar bear. There was every animal you could possibly think of stuffed and pictures of him with guns on top of this animal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, fuck you, man.
And you see him as a hunter and generally hunters are, respected. But when you see him and his character, his motivation for hunting is just to get the biggest game. He's not eating the meat. He's not respecting his kills probably. He's just killing shit just to fucking mount it up in his house and say, I killed that.
Yeah. Trophies, tangible things. That's all he cares about.
Yeah, if he doesn't care. Yeah, he doesn't care about.
He doesn't
the
even care
meaning
about
behind
his
it.
henchmen. He doesn't care about people. He didn't really care about her. Are we supposed to believe that he was her ex-husband? Did I miss that?
What?
That she had left town and he has some connection to her, and that was kind of hazy for me. But
he as in Wesley has a connection to Doc.
to Elizabeth. Yeah. And then obviously that connection doesn't matter because he's like willing to kill her.
Right.
With no regard.
Yeah.
But
Because
all
he
he
had a
cares
crush
about,
on her, is what they said.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and then she left town and he like freaked out. That is what the blind guy said to him. Yeah. So even with people, with his henchmen, he doesn't care that Dalton even killed his nephew, his only remaining family, I guess.
Yeah. I need to buy
That's
a
not,
chair.
yeah, that's not going to stay there. It's fine.
Yeah. It's there's some things they left out that they could have done a little bit better where they kind of brushed over it with the dialogue. But again, it's not some like it's a movie about a bouncer cleaning up a dive bar.
Yeah.
So
I would be pretty interested with the new one coming out. We
Yeah.
should do a part 2
100%.
where I just shit on Jake Gyllenhaal the entire time.
All right.
I told your dad, I was like, I cannot wait to see Connor McGregor kick some Jake Gyllenhaal ass. Because even though he's a villain and we know how it turns out and Jake Gyllenhaal's probably going to beat him, for that fight scene, I'm going to be like, fucking get him. The Notorious.
All right, let's go to our rating. What do you rate Roadhouse?
8.5.
8.5?
8.5.
Holy shit.
Very enjoyable. That
Well-
one's based off of pure enjoyability. From the casting, even the story. I like that it wasn't just all action. I love Sam Elliott in it. He was a fantastic character.
Mm-hmm. A little creepy with
Yeah,
the
I did
dog.
not like that. Whenever he was like dancing with her and he was touching her face, and then he like made a comment about her ass when she walked away. I like looked over and I was like, that's supposed to be his best friend. What would you do if one of your friends said that about me? He's like, yeah, that's not okay.
Yeah, so like it almost was like too like it's sweet in the beginning, and then it just like kind of did it like he did like too much.
Well, and he kind of looks old, even though really at that point in time, Sam Elliott's not that old. He just grayed really fast.
You're right.
You know?
Yeah, it could have been a little bit better where he's not as creepy with it.
Yeah. As a woman that does hair, I love the hair in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was typical 80s hair. So much volume, so much hairspray. You can almost like...
Yep. All right. I'm going to give it a... Enjoyability bumps the score up. But again, I'm rating it as just a movie and how it was told. So I'm going to give it... I'm going to go 6.9.
Ha ha ha.
69.
Okay, but I think you're a little too critical of this classic, just fun movie. It's just a fun movie. It's
I know, but
supposed to...
but if I'm gonna compare it, if I gave it an 8.5, it's gonna be up there with like the Iron Claw.
No, because it's different.
But I'm trying to keep my score consistent.
Okay. I respect that. However, I will say right here and right now, my scores are not consistent because everything is different, and I score with my heart and whatever number pops up here first, because obviously that's my first instinct. And I've always loved this movie. So it was pure enjoyability movie. Honestly, though, it was cringe at sometimes, and that's why it's not. But I love these, like, you know, big classic 80s movies. Like, they're just so enjoyable to me. Like, I love Top Gun. I love Dirty Dancing. I loved Rambo. You know, all these, like, also the Rambo reference. That was a very modern reference in this movie because Rambo came out shortly before that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very shortly.
Yeah.
This was what? 89, and Rambo was what? In the 80s, early 80s?
It's in the 80s.
Yeah.
Let me see. First Blood.
Yeah. Also, for Patrick Swayze to die as young as he did, and for him to be such an A-list actor at that time, I don't think you and I really think about that. But for people that were around like that time, that was a huge loss for in celebrity-wise. I just never really think about it because I obviously wasn't around during that time. But that would almost be like, I'm trying to think of a...
Rambo came out in 1982.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a pretty modern reference. That would almost be like, I'm trying to compare to like a pretty big actor these days, like passing away at such a young age. I think he was only like 40 when he died.
Really?
And I think he had cancer. I don't know why I'm thinking pancreatic cancer.
He died in 2009.
Okay.
September 14th.
Okay.
He was born in Houston, Texas.
Represent.
He was 57.
Okay.
He died in LA.
Of what?
Pancreatic cancer.
No, not yes. I'm not cheering that. But I don't know how I thought about that. I do remember my parents used to get People magazine on subscription, and I would read them when I was bored, and I remember whenever he died. But I was 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I give it a 6.9 because I like it a lot, and it's very enjoyable, and it's a movie that I would recommend people to watch. But when I'm comparing it, it's a classic to me, but it's not a great. Like, I'm not going to put it up there with the Martin Scorsese movie. I'm not going to put it up there with the Tarantino movie. I'm not going to put it up there with some of these, like, great movies that are, like, expertly crafted, because it's not expertly crafted, so I can't give it an amazing score because, you know, the way they make it is important to me, and as well as the enjoyability. So the enjoyability bumped it up. It probably would be a 6, but I gave it a 6.9 because it is enjoyable and it's fun to watch. And the whole entire time, it's not like, oh, this movie sucks. That's fucking stupid. Even though he snatches a guy's throat out, it's not really that stupid. It is stupid when you really think about it, but within the movie, it's cool.
Yeah, I think the reason why it earned that score for me is not only just enjoyability, but I think it had the potential of just being a very surface level movie of like just the action and stuff. But I kind of felt like they made it more in a sense that I felt his connection to this town, not only to Doc, but to the other business owners and stuff. And I felt I saw his character change, even though maybe you don't feel that way. I felt like I got a lot out of it. And I think that was pretty impressive to me for the time and the type of movie that it is.
Yeah, but I don't know if you could say that, like, impressive for the time, because there's movies that were made way before that are expertly crafted that don't feel old. Like, I don't think the time should matter with how good a movie is.
Give me an example.
Oh, Alfred Hitchcock movies.
Those don't feel old to you?
No. If you watch, have you seen one?
I mean, yeah.
Which one?
Psycho.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. You watch it for school or something, right?
Yeah. I would actually agree that doesn't feel like, but it feels like a staple, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we have to have some grace with these like older movies because we can feel like these modern movies feel like them because if in a sense the film industry hasn't been around for a long time.
Right.
It's really only been like what, 100 years maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they started like the first like motion picture was like just literally pictures. And it was a guy riding on a horse. And I think that came out in the 20s.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But
I just liked it. And that's just why I earned my 8.5.
it's a straight up like score, not a.
I just like this movie.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. There's some movies that I just like, I can't explain it. Is it a top 10 movie? No. But if I'm like feeling just like, hey, let's watch Roadhouse again. Like it's one of those movies.
Classic.
I would never in my entire life be like, oh, let's watch Saltburn again.
Yeah.
Hell no. However, that's just a different category for me. That's like aesthetic. That's a film type of score. This is a movie score. That's just meant for just the audience to have a good time.
Right.
Yeah.
And it does give you a good time. I was going to make a point. What was I going to say? We were talking about something about old movies. Oh, yes. Have you ever seen like North by Northwest by Hitchcock?
Mm-mm.
So I watched that for school too, and I'm watching it and I'm like, this does not feel like an old movie. Like this literally is written, they talk, the shots, everything about it looks like a modern movie, which I guess that's what makes Hitchcock so fucking good is that his movies today do not feel old. Like you can watch it and it's like, that could be in the theaters right now and do good.
Yeah.
People are not going to criticize it for being bad because it's literally just that good. So it's like, I guess maybe because movies haven't been around for that long, a lot of movies aren't that great because there aren't so many examples of a great movie. Right? So today there's a giant catalog of movies that you can reference of like what is the quality standard for being a great movie versus back then. Hitchcock is creating the standard.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I wouldn't say, I just don't think it's that, it's a little bit, but I don't think it's that justifiable to say that for the time it was good. Just because there are movies from that time that are really good.
Yeah.
So I see what your point is a little bit, but then again, I'm kind of like, yeah, but there also are great movies from that time too. So
yeah, I would say there's better ones. Like Top Gun is a top 10 movie for me. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yep.
And I would definitely put that one above this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. So you're like gray. You're like opposite gray with your score today.
Gray's scores are whack. He lost all respect from me with his scores from the Die Hard episode. I called him out. I was like, that is bullshit. I was like, you can't pretend like you love a movie and you're a huge fan and then give it a freaking 6. You're whack. You're just trying to get some shock factor out of us.
Yeah, if y'all want to see some funny arguing between old Mercedes and Gray, Die Hard episode's a funny one because she
should make
digs
a
him.
highlight.
Yeah, we need like a highlight reel.
At the end, whenever we cut, I was like, "Hey, are we cool right now?"
Hey, bro, let's hug it out.
Yeah,
Yeah. Nope. Roadhouse is good. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy this movie every time I watch it.
Every time, yeah.
It's a little corny. Some of the dialogue is all right. They just kind of in the beginning there's a lot of dialogue that's just filler dialogue to fill you on information and just kind of like
0 out of 10 sex scenes, unnecessary nudity. That's probably my biggest. And it's not like I'm a prude or something that I don't care about the nudity. Was it unnecessary? Yeah. That's like when people say like, oh, sex sells, so you put it in there to get people in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been just as good without all the tits and without the weird sex scenes.
The only justifiable nude scene was probably at Wade Garrett's bar. Because like a titty bar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that he's working that bar. People are getting handsy. You know, he's working that bar because he's got to keep it safe. Got to keep the girl safe. That's a justifiable scene for me. But like the pool party, that was just tits for no reason.
Yeah. There was a lot of those moments. I was like, no, okay.
Weird for Wesley to send his girl up on stage to strip for the entire bar.
Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah. That's not necessary.
Yeah. Oh, and they beat the crap out of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, like bad.
Yeah, her whole side of her face was bruised up.
Yeah. Yeah. But then the next scene, she was getting up on that stage, like looking like a Barbie doll.
Yeah, she had no scars.
Yeah, and I'm like, how long in between that?
Yeah. Okay. So you gave it an 8.5, right?
8.5.
Gave it a 6.9.
Try to tell me something about it in the comments.
What do you mean? Like about your score?
Yeah.
If you agree or disagree.
Yeah. I would like to hear it.
Maybe I'll let you comment back. Fuck you, motherfucker.
Oh. Yeah. After a few drinks.
Get you drunk, start replying to comments on YouTube. All right. Well, any final words, any final thoughts about Roadhouse, Mercedes?
I'm excited to see the new one, and we should do a part 2 on the new one.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I really hope Connor McGregor's acting isn't trash and ruin it. But then again, I'm not going into it expecting it to be anything crazy.
No.
I'm not expecting it to be an amazing movie. I'm expecting it to be equally as cool as Roadhouse is.
I'm such a huge fan. I'm just excited to see him in something.
Yeah. The real question is, will they have a line where Connor McGregor says, I used to fuck guys like you in prison?
Oh my gosh, yes. What was that? That was so random. We're like, oh, wait.
That's
he was like kind of standing behind him too. Whenever he said that, I was like, oh,
That's like the most absurd scene. He says, I used to fuck guys like you in prison. And then Patrick Swayze's like, what, bitch? And rips his throat out.
Yeah. I can't imagine Conor McGregor. I wonder, did you hear him talk? He has his accent. There's no way he doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a really strong one. So I'm not sure if he could hide it.
Yeah.
I mean, unless he is serious about acting and hires a dialect coach to help him out.
Mm.
But then again, sometimes like when you have a real thick accent from not an actor and they try to have an American accent or a different accent, or maybe they try to do a British accent or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's usually not that good.
Yeah. Well, is he playing himself? Because
doesn't say.
If they have him, because they show the scenes of Jake Gyllenhaal, which we were watching that card whenever he got up and filmed weighing in and like getting in the fight. Yeah. But I wonder if like they're gonna have like Bruce Buffer
100%
doing. Yeah, that's why I would think. And then
Dana White's in it. Like the UFC.
Yeah, that's
paid for this movie.
Badass. I'm a huge, I love UFC, so that is badass.
I mean, because it's UFC branded when they fight, and then when the trailer dropped, Amazon Prime, who's making it, collaborated on the post with the UFC.
Oh.
So, like, it's like a UFC production movie. So, like, the UFC put money into this movie to make it.
Yeah, so if, let's say there's a scene where Connor's in the ring, I wonder if he's going to do the Notorious.
I don't think Connor's himself.
That's what I was asking. That's why I wanted you to look up.
No, his character's not listed yet.
Oh, dang.
But I don't think he's playing himself. Oh. That'd be stupid.
I don't know. It would modernize it for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it'd be hard for McGregor to play himself and lose.
Mm. At first, I was in the break room and I was like, I wasn't thinking of Southpaw, because I was like, I wonder if the fight scenes are going to like be so obvious that Conor McGregor's an actual fighter, and Jake Gyllenhaal looks choreographed. And that's when Blue was like, yeah, but he's a southpaw. And I was like, oh, I guess you're right there.
Plus, I mean, McGregor's going to have to follow like his choreography.
Yeah,
he doesn't get the free flow.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So, and the fight scenes might be better because McGregor's like, no. That's not how it would work.
I liked in the trailer when he said, don't let anyone get too close, and he headbutts him. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, it'll be good. Part 2 coming soon.
All right. Thank you guys for listening or watching. Check us out next week for another episode of the CRWN Cinema Podcast, and subscribe, and we're out.
Trying to buy my next meal. Seems all I do is drive. And when the boss man sends my next check in the mail, I'll